What's good, y'all? Elvis here, back again with another episode of Better Barbering. For my new people, Better Barber is a series that I started where I share tips and tricks that made me a better barber, that other people used to make them better barbers, and ideally better people. So as a barber, your clients can be your biggest blessing, hands down. They make a lot of stuff happen for you, paying you so you can spend that money to make your dreams come true, as well as just the interactions you have with some of these clients, bro. They can really elevate your quality of life. I've had so many clients in my life that have infinitely affected my life for the better. Whether it's they gave me some perspective I needed at a time, or whether it's just a cool people I kicked it with, you know what I'm saying? A lot of that is a mutual feeling between us. And some of these people, shoot, I might not cut their hair much in the future, but we've retained that connection. Even if they're on the other side of the world and they just happen to be in my city, or I'm over there, then we kick it, catch up, you know what I'm saying? We're continually invested in each other's lives, even if we were only really around interacting with each other for a short season. They say 80% of your business comes with 20% of your clients. Most of the people that sit in your chair and go through your business won't be that positive for you. Depending on different stages you're at, especially at the beginning, you're gonna have a lot of problem clients at varying levels. This video is all about how to handle problem clients. So off-gate, understand that problem clients are people and everybody is going through something. 90% of the time, if someone's quote unquote airing an issue out with you, it's not even really about the situation with you. It's emotional spillover for whatever else they got going on. There's people I've interacted with and they had some weird complex when I was cutting their hair. Just kind of like, oh yeah, you work for me and do this, blah, 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 blah. And it's real uppity. Because, you know, I'm a person, like, I do what I love and I'm just sharing what I love with people. So there's no ego involved. It's just like, oh, hey, how you doing? Da, da, da. I talk to people like we know each other. If I'm asking you real questions about you, I care about your answers. I'm not here just, man, give me the bread and get out. You know what I'm saying? So when somebody reciprocates some energy that's kind of like uppity and like they feel like they have to down me, I already know it's not even about me. This person don't know enough about me to even have a problem with me for real. It's almost always some other issue that they have going on in their life that's just spilling out in this interaction. I've had situations where I low-key took some of my anger out on people unintentionally sometimes, but once you realize you're doing that, you gotta correct that shit. And people respect you more when you correct that shit. Like one time, like at the first shop I worked at, my big homie Steve, he owned the shop. But he had a client that was sitting, waiting for a haircut or whatnot. I had like literally just got off the phone with somebody trying my fucking life. Like really playing with me. Disrespectful, a whole bunch of other shit. And keep in mind, nobody knew because it was a real quiet interaction. I shared a few texts or whatever, I sent a few texts. Then I was like, keep it pushing. Homeboy was sitting in the front. And when you're in a shop that allows walk-ins, you ask people, oh, you here for a haircut? You waiting on anybody? I was like, hey bro, you waiting on a haircut? This and that. And he was on his phone. He wasn't paying attention. I'm not surprised he didn't think I was talking to him because he knew he was waiting on. Unbeknownst to me, he'd been getting a haircut for a while. I mean, at this point, I just got to the shop. I didn't know that he goes to Steve. So I'm just like, hey, bro, you here for a haircut? He's not paying attention. Like, hey, bro, hey, yo. And I'm like, low-key just raised my voice at this nigga. He's like, oh, no, bro, I'm waiting on him. I was like, I caught myself like, yo, you really low-key snapped on this nigga. He's not doing nothing wrong. Your cup of emotion just full because you were just dealing with the other situation. And bro, I had to come up to him and be like, bro, I apologize. I didn't mean to even come at you like that. I had this and that going on, bro. That was wrong of me. Da, 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 da. And that didn't really turn into nothing, but it was a moment that really kind of humbled me. People consider me a, let's say, emotionally intelligent person. You know what I'm saying? I'm really good at understanding where my emotions are and blah, 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 blah. But it showed me I have room to grow. A lot of the times, some shit's going on in the background that I'm not paying attention to right now that's still in play. That was a humbling time for me, and that made me realize, like, yo, there's a lot of people that are going to be around me that I might have a higher emotional intelligence than. I might be able to dissect my emotions easier than. So if I'm susceptible to just flying off the cuff on somebody, even in a little way, I can't even be surprised when people come to me with hostility that isn't assigned to me. It's just coming out towards me. So when the client's being problematic and coming to you, it's rarely about you. Like, you could have been the straw that broke the camel's back from their perspective. But most of that isn't even on you. So because it's not even on you, it's not even really worth holding that against them. You don't hold it against a kid for throwing a tantrum. I'd say mature people don't hold it against children for throwing a tantrum. Not trying to call these clients children, but we're all children. Nobody is fully grown. We're all in the process of growing. So you have to come with a certain level of understanding and give people grace about that shit. The most common theme I've realized in my barbering career is just interacting with all these people. You attract like-minded or complementary people. 99% of people we come across are invisible to us. We only pay attention to the people that either reflect or repel something within us. Then the more I've been able to sit down and understand myself through the different seasons, the more I've been able to understand other people and connect with them on a more authentic level. Once I got to a place where I was comfortable living my life with my mask off, when I interact with people, the first thing they do is take their mask off. But maybe about 2 years ago, I spent a lot of time learning about my specific attachment style. I guess quick crash course. Attachment styles basically describe the ways in childhood we attach to our parents on an emotional level. And there's 4 different kinds of attachment styles. There's secure, which is, ideal as a healthy, supportive relationship. There's anxious attachment. The simplest way for me to describe that is real clingy, fearful energy. Like, I have to latch on to feel safe. There's dismissive attachment, where it's like, oh, I gotta stiff arm everybody to feel safe. I can't get too close. And there's disorganized attachment, which is a little bit of both of those. There's a part of you that clings and there's a part of you that pushes, and there's always that alternating force. I realized that I have a disorganized attachment style. And when I really paid attention to all the people that were really in my vicinity, that I was interacting with, there was always some kind of polarity. When I was in my real dismissive mood and I was like stiff arming everybody, the most relevant people in my life were the people that were trying to cling. And whenever I was trying to cling to people, like, there was individuals that were stiff arming me. So we were kind of reinforcing each other's attachment wounds and shit that we were going on. We weren't growing through those situations. So as I started trying to get to more of a secure attachment style and heal some of my trauma wounds, I realized the people around me started to change as well. For the people that stayed around through the separate seasons, it could have been that we were both independently doing our own work to be able to come to a more secure attachment. Or a lot of times it was as I was doing my work to grow and become more whole and get to a secure attachment, that broke up the dynamic that worked for the other people that were in my life. So they just pieced out. So now I'm realizing anytime somebody has a problem with me or I have a problem with somebody, that's a lesson for us to learn from each other. Even if the conflict isn't necessarily my fault, there's always something for me to learn in my interactions with people, because everybody we have a substantial interaction with is a lesson. Otherwise, we would have just been 2 ships passing in the night. Wouldn't have even picked them up on my radar. That goes for friends, family, especially romantic partners and love interests. That also ties into a story of, like, I'm not gonna say my most problematic client, because I've had people on some bullshit, you know what I'm saying? But this is an example of the relationships that I grew out of as I was doing more work on myself. I had this one client, she was cool people. I mean, I was cutting her for like maybe 5-ish years. She come get a haircut, it'd be vibes or whatever. I'm a very present person, I get to know people, this and this and that. I never really had an issue with her, but also it wasn't that deep of a relationship. This applies to a lot of people, but also a lot of women. They're the kind of people that they don't really care what you got going on. They're kind of here for them. You know what I'm saying? That's ain't no shade. That's just how people are sometimes. Maybe I was cutting her for like two years or something, and I started noticing, like, she ain't never asked me about my life. Like, never asked me about nothing I really had going on. It's like, oh, how's your day? But that's always because I asked her about her day. But every time she's in the chair, she'd sit here, oh, I got this going on, and so-and-so did this, and da-da-da-da-da. And I'd sit here basically doing counselor stuff, cutting her hair as well as tending to whatever emotional need. Of course, this is a platonic interaction and stuff. But maybe about like 2 years ago when I was at my previous shop, I was cutting her hair, and she had been growing it out. She'd be alternating between long hair and short hair, and she wanted me to cut it down to like a 2. Keep in mind, she's experienced waivers, so she knows all her lengths, you know what I'm saying? So, cut it down to a 2, says it's cool, blah, 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 good interaction, goes home, she's blowing up my phone. Oh, this is too short, and da 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 da. And I'm like, nigga, I'm not really understanding what the problem is. I did exactly what you asked for, but she's kind of, like, if it was gonna be this short, you should have told me, da da da. And I'm like, personally, whatever. Like, I'm just taking it on the chin as a barber, because I'm thinking like, okay, well, even though I did exactly what she asked for, and she didn't say nothing in the shop, I'm just like, okay, you know what? I should have went above and beyond as far as my consultation. And then, like, if she was previously growing it out, the hair's generally gonna be standing up, you know what I'm saying? So when I cut it down to a 2, and it lays down, it's gonna be slightly shorter than a 2 with the hair laying down already. So I'm just like, okay, you know what? I'll take that on the chin. I could have did my consultation better. I decided I'm not gonna go back and forth with these text messages. I don't text people like that. So I'm just like, oh, well, my bad. Like, a free cut if you want it, There you go. In my mind, I'm realizing like you are actually tweaking about this. If this gesture don't solve it, I don't really want you as a client personally. I wasn't gonna trip over it. She came in, she's like, oh, sorry about this and that and da 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 da, and apologized. And I'm like, it's cool, it's whatever. But in my mind, I knew you on thin ice. Like, I'm talking about a paragraph so long I had to scroll. Personally, you are tweaking. So flash forward, I'm in this suite, and she'd been growing her hair out for some time or whatever. She came in, booked a shape up. For me, a shape up is a taper with a lineup possibly. If I'm cutting any at the top, it's a full cut. She comes in, she booked the shape up, but I had time afterwards. She's like, oh, well, she didn't really want it lined up or nothing, trying to do it natural. I'm like, okay. But she just wanted it trimmed down a little bit. And I'm thinking like, trimmed down? Like, come on now. She's like, oh, just, a bare minimum trim. Let's just give it some shape. And I'm like, okay, you know what? I don't mind. My shape up price is $40. This is a little work. It's not, I'm not tripping over it. You know what I'm saying? So I just kind of freehand the top. She's like, oh, actually, can I get it shorter? And I'm like, I can. But also I want reference pictures because this is like, you haven't described nothing well. Like I'm going off of bare minimum. What would kind of like round this out? I'm just kind of like, I want specifics, but she don't have no pictures. I'm like, okay, I cut it down a little bit more. Can you cut it down more? Cut it down a little bit more. I end up cutting this shit down 7 times. She says, that's all right. I'm like, okay, it's already 2 hours of my time. It's done cut into my lunch. But I'm just like, you know what, whatever. We've been cool for a while, whatever, I'm not tripping. She leaves. Within 30 minutes, she's blowing up my phone. Oh, you took too much off on the side and blah, 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 and this and that's uneven. I'm like, She said, oh, I see you got a time at 3 o'clock. Can I just book that and blah, 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 blah. I'm sitting there like, this is a lot because I've already cut this hair down a whole bunch of times. This is way past more than a haircut. It's taking 2 hours of my time already. You are asking for the fucking most right now. I'm speeding to eat my food during my lunch. Before I even get a chance to respond, not even like 20 minutes after, she already books a time for the afternoon. I'm like, in my head, I'm just like, bro, I think this is probably the last time I'm gonna cut her. There's just a crazy expectation for me to go above and beyond when this is not even a reciprocal relationship. You just pay me bread. Everybody pay me bread and then some. Before she come in, I'm like, hey, I don't mind you coming in, but I need you to understand, I'm being very generous on what I consider a shape up. And she's like, oh, that's fine, I can pay the difference, da 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 da. I'm like, okay, cool. She come in, I cut it down a few more times. She said, oh, appreciate it, and sends me the difference. This was a day that Cash App wasn't working. The other payment doesn't come through. A day later, I hit her up, hey, can you check on that Cash App? She sends it. Then she sends me a whole paragraph, like a whole paragraph and a half. And before I'm even reading it, I'm already like, yeah, this shit is done. Just having an attitude, girl was just ranting. I didn't appreciate it when you said you're being very generous on the shape up, da 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 da. I've always respected your prices, blah 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 blah. I've been getting haircuts for 5 years, da 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 da. I'm like, oh no, fuck all that shit. I waited a few hours to respond because I knew if I responded right when I saw that, I was about to air her shit out ruthlessly. I was like, hey, you blew up my phone and took 3 hours of my time. I was being very generous. Another person that tried that same shit would have to pay for 4 haircuts. Basically said, I appreciate the business, but I don't owe you nothing. If you need a recommendation for a barber, I got you, but otherwise, take care. Best believe she didn't respond to that shit. But you know what she did? She tried to request a refund. Denied. Fuck you mean? It's not even a story about me downing her specifically. This only became a problem because I was over leveraging myself for somebody who wasn't showing me equal or adequate respect back. There's people that are nice to you because they want something, and there's people that are kind to you because they respect you. And while there wasn't many times where she tried my respect before, aside of maybe wanting an after hours cut at a regular price, miss me with that shit. I'm an ass. I'm the type of nigga to be like, oh, your man pay for your nails? Oh, we can pay for this haircut too. Miss me with that shit. People treat you based off of the cues that you give about how you treat yourself. I, somewhat unconsciously, was going out of my way trying to people please. Not like over the top or anything, but it's on small little boundaries that I wasn't enforcing. That made her feel like it was like she could be bold enough to come with that kind of energy. Ultimately, that's on me. And the growth that I did in multiple seasons to try to become a person with stronger boundaries, a stronger sense of respect for myself. That discourages old relationships with outdated boundaries. Those kind of people are either gonna grow to appreciate the person you're becoming or get the fuck on. But that is life. Everything is seasonal, even relationships, you know what I'm saying? But there is no such thing as wasted time or energy if you learn the lesson that you were supposed to learn. And if you don't learn the lesson, you're just gonna have to repeat the class until you do. This is just one specific story of a problem client. I had a bunch of other problem clients at significantly varying degrees. Most of them way worse than this one. I can always trace the root of the problem back to myself, either implementing weak boundaries or just having a lack of boundaries altogether. If you're actively going out your way to become a solution and be solution oriented, problems just scatter. You deal with way fewer problems. But that's all I got for today. I appreciate y'all watching. If you're interested in this type of content as well as conversations like this that I have with other like-minded artists, barbers, entrepreneurs, people like that, you would love my Patreon. Link in the description. If you feel like I'm spitting game and you want some type of consultation, feel free to hit your boy on Instagram at Better Barbering. If you haven't already followed me, follow your boy on Instagram as well as TikTok at Cuts by Elvis at Better Barbering. If you appreciate this content, go ahead and share it with somebody like-minded. You feel me? Let's grow the family. Thank you again. Till next time, Craft of a Clout. I'm out.